The phrase, elementary, my dear Watson, was never actually spoken by the canonical stories of Sherlock Holmes. That was a pastiche invention. Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am co-hosting the second annual Holmes is Where the Heart Is event in February. This is an event created by Jim at Mystery and Mayhem to read the stories of Sherlock Holmes. There are some other Holmes Boys co-hosting this event. There is Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Randy Ray, the literate Texan, and Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. Now this can be a really rather easy event. There is the simple route, which is just read a Sherlock Holmes novel or a Sherlock Holmes short story. If you do that, you are participating in Holmes is Where the Heart Is. There are some prompts for people who want to be a little more ambitious. Week 1 is long canon. That is to read one of the 4 canonical Sherlock Holmes novels. Week 2 is to read a short story or a group of short stories in the canonical series. Week 3 is to read some pastiche fiction. There are lots of authors writing some Sherlock Holmes short stories, and some of them can be remarkably good. In the 4th week, we will be doing non-fiction, that is biography or historical influences, something like that. And you don't have to follow the prompts at all if you don't want to. I am going to be following the prompts a little bit, but during the month of February, I am going to be out of the country for almost 2 weeks with little to no internet access, so I will not be a very active co-host during that time period. But I am going to try to follow the 4 prompts. For week 1, I am going to be reading The Valley of Fear. This is the 4th Sherlock Holmes novel. It is probably the weakest of the novels, but last year I read The Sign of the Four, and the year before that, for a non-Sherlock Holmes event, I read A Study in Scarlet and The Hounds of the Baskervilles. So it's time for me to reread The Valley of Fear. I have this nice hard case crime edition, but I will not be taking it with me on my trip out of the country. I will be reading the ebook version on my Kindle just because it's much easier than packing a whole lot of books when I travel. I will leave a link in the description of this video to Standard ebooks. They do very nice editions of all the Sherlock Holmes stories or books. Week 2, I'm going to be taking the case book of Sherlock Holmes. These are the only Holmes stories that I have not read. I listened to the unabridged, supposedly complete edition of Stephen Fry reading the Holmes stories. But when I bought the book, this last collection was still on copyright, so it could not be included. So I only have read maybe 1 or 2 stories out of this collection. I will be bringing the ebook version with me. Week number 3 is Pastiche. There is more or less an unofficial group read going on, and that is The Fifth Heart by Dan Simmons. Dan Simmons is very well known as a horror, science fiction, and mystery author. And in this story, I'm not going to spoil it, but Sherlock Holmes meets up with the author, American author, Henry James. That's all I am going to say because I don't want to spoil anything. I will be listening to the audiobook on my overseas travels. And for week 3, I had originally intended to read West End Horror by Nicholas Mayer. This is the second in his Sherlock Holmes Pastiche series. I read the 7% Solution last year and totally loved it. However, I'm going to have to push this off to later in the year, where there may be another Sherlock Holmes pastiche novel coming up. This is The Whitechapel Horrors. There's a slight theme to these two books, if you know it. There is also a slight hidden theme in this video that maybe you can see, maybe you cannot see, because there should be a special event coming up, a new event towards the end of the year. Stay tuned. For week number 4, I have to admit, I don't have any nonfiction books related to Sherlock Holmes, so I will be dipping into last year's prompt that was legacy reads or characters sort of inspired by Sherlock Holmes, and I will be picking up Maurice Leblanc, his Arsène Lupin series. It is also kind of a pastiche series because his detective Lupin met up with a character named Sherlock Holmes, but ran into some copyright issues and had to republish his stories with a character named Herlock Sholmes. These are French detective novels from the 1920s. And that is my intentions for Holmes is Where the Heart Is. In the description of this video, you will find a link to Jim's apparel store where you can buy an official Holmes is Where the Heart Is t-shirt. Check it out. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.